Just look at the camera. Just look at the camera. You can do this, Lucas. At the camera. Hey guys, my name is Lucas. Thanks for checking out this video. Today I'm going to be going through tips on how you can get into photography. Hopefully some practical things that you can do to help you get started in the process. I'm going to be talking from my experiences, things that I wish I had known when I was getting into it that I could have done and helped me get into it a lot faster. So first things first, before I even get into it, I'm going to give you a list of the tips. This is something that I wanted to do every video I make because I hate going through the whole video, getting through all the tips and realizing that I didn't want to watch that whole video. So here's a list, read through them now, and you can decide whether you think this video is going to be a waste of your time. If so, I respect that. If not, stay tuned. I'm going to be speaking from each of the tips, just giving a little bit of insight from my experience on each one, and hopefully that will give some encouragement to you guys. So I'm not going to present this video like it's just going to be some magical process to get you making money in photography ASAP. None of these steps are new, nothing groundbreaking here. I know that there's a million at least videos like this on the internet. I'm not naive enough to think that I'm the first one to think about giving tips about their experience in photography, but I do have my own experience and I just wanted to share that with other people just like everyone else. Hopefully there's going to be something a little different in here that's going to help you along your way or just maybe relate to you a little bit more. I just want to be practical and personal so that it's relatable. Just know that I'm not as far along in my career as I want to be. I'm still growing myself, and so hopefully that's encouragement to you guys as you're watching this, that just like you started, I started, and I'm still growing like you can. So the first thing I would say to do if you're interested in photography at all is do a little bit of research. When I say a little bit, probably mean a lot. If you have an interest in it, research about what photography is. That's something I didn't do. It's obviously pretty simple, take pictures of it. There's a lot more to it, but do a little bit of research about the history of photography, learn a little bit about what it is, the process of it. I didn't do that. It's really interesting stuff, and that would probably help you understand taking photos as well as probably the camera a lot too. So research just about photography itself, and then obviously you want to research about the camera. If you haven't bought a camera, and you're probably thinking, where do I even start? I have no idea what even cameras are, the different types. I was in the same place, so a good place to start would be Google basic DSLR cameras or entry-level DSLR cameras, and go from there. You're going to want to start with a DSLR camera if you're looking to get into it and do it seriously. Those are the cameras where you can change the settings and change the lenses. You can take great pictures with point and shoots, but it's not going to give you, the versatility and being able to be creative with the camera like you can with the DSLR. So research that. Look at the different brands. There's obviously Nikon and Canon, but there's so many more brands. There's Sony, Olympus, Panasonic. There's so many out there. So research different cameras, of the lower level basic entry cameras, and just find ones. That's what I did. I researched and I found that a lot of people said Nikon images look the best, and I found enough of that to make that sufficient for me, and I went with Nikon. I still shoot with Nikon. I've considered switching, but I love Nikon. I don't have anything against anyone else, but I love Nikon, and so that was from the research I did in the very beginning, and I'm still shooting with Nikon today. And you might end up being the same way, you might not, but I would say do some research, figure out what camera you want to go with, and that leads us into step 2, not step 2. Tip 2 is to take a chance, but it's okay if it's small. It's okay to start small, and I would actually advise to start small. If you're just getting into photography and you're just interested in it, but you don't know if you're gonna continue in it and do a career in it and love doing it, definitely start small. You can buy a great entry-level DSLR camera for a couple $100s. You can buy, I would even look into getting a used older camera. Cameras that are 5 years old now are still amazing. The first camera I had was a Nikon D5200. I got it about 6 years ago, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. It's 24 megapixels, I'm pretty sure, 23 maybe, and that's what all my cameras have had. It's got the same amount of megapixels as all my other cameras. It's a great camera, and it's old, but it's still good, and it's going to be cheap. Cameras are definitely cheap enough to where you can get started if you really want to. And maybe something else is, if you just aren't for sure about spending that much money on just an interest right now, find someone that has a camera. There are a lot of people that have DSLR cameras out there, find someone and ask if you can just maybe borrow it, or if not borrow it, maybe just watch them use it and use them, while you're hanging out with them, just to get a feel for if you enjoy taking photos. Because I remember when I got my camera, I actually spent $700 on my first camera, kind of on a whim. I don't know if it was the best decision. Looking back, it was obviously the best decision one of the best decisions I made. But then I was like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of money. It probably wasn't the smartest idea in the moment, but looking back, it was a great decision. And so I just remember getting it and loving every picture I took, even if it wasn't great, I still loved the fact that I had a camera and I was taking pictures. It felt awesome. I knew I was interested in it and wanted to keep going and learn it. So just pick up a camera and find out if you enjoy taking pictures before you buy a camera. But after you have your camera, we're going into tip 3, and that's learn how to use it. Thanks, Captain Obvious. It sounds so simple and it sounds like beyond obvious, but it's really important. And I think that's one of the biggest things that hold people back. They get a nice camera, but they don't want to learn how to use it. And not to say they don't want to learn how to use it, maybe that's not the best phrasing, but they don't learn how to use it. I know countless people that have a very nice camera, a couple $100, even $1,000 camera, where it just sits on the shelf, never touched. I look at that and say, why would you do that? But I honestly, that didn't happen to me. I feel so blessed that I was able to pursue it and learn it, and I had a passion for it and I did it. I honestly, I get why that happens. I get why that happens. 1, it's overwhelming. 2, it takes a lot of time. It's just like anything else, I get that it's very overwhelming to just pick up a camera. There's a lot of buttons, and that's why they made auto mode. Auto mode is great. Auto mode, you can get great photos on auto, but you gotta get out of auto if you have a camera and you wanna get into photography. Because auto's good, but it's not the best. You wanna learn how the camera works so that you can get types of pictures that you want to get, and not just rely on the camera to get you a picture which isn't gonna be what you want. I know that might not make a lot of sense, but once you learn how to set the camera yourself, you will understand that. I'll put it this way. I don't remember exactly when I stopped using auto mode, but it was within the first year of having my camera. And the first time I took a picture not using auto mode, I never used it again. Let's put it that way. I don't think I've touched auto mode since I turned it off of auto mode. And it's just because once you learn how to use the camera, you can set it yourself and be comfortable with that and get the photos you want. Auto is kind of just hit and miss. It's sometimes it'll be nice, sometimes it'll be super dark, sometimes it'll be super light. So learning how to use the camera, and you're like, well, how in the world do I do that? If it was that easy to learn how to use the camera, I don't want to pay for classes. And this is where the great invention of the internet comes into play. Most people I talk to, most people that I know that are around my age that are photographers nowadays, learn how to use their camera, learn about photography, learn how to use their camera from watching YouTube videos. Exactly what happened to me, and it's a luxury. It is 100% a luxury, but it's a luxury that, you can take advantage of. You don't have to pay for photography classes. You don't have to go to photography school. There's seriously tons and tons of information on the internet on how to use your camera. And I know it's overwhelming, but it's gonna be what helps you progress in photography. If you don't learn how to use the camera, you're not gonna be able to be comfortable with taking pictures to get the types of pictures that you want. I would start with just YouTubing, is that a verb? Just type into YouTube how a DSLR camera works. Because once you understand how all the components work together, and that sounds like it's complicated, and there are complicated parts, but the overall concept is fairly simple. So once you understand how the camera works together and how the components work together to make an image, that'll make sense in your mind to say, oh, well, I understand why that does that. So if I set it here, it'll look like this. And that leads into the next tip, which is just use it. Just do it, Nike. But just use it, AKA practice, AKA trial and error. Besides learning how to use the camera, this is the most important thing, because I mean, they pretty much tie in together, because as you're using it, that's really, at least for someone like me, I learned about my camera from using it. And I think that's how most people are probably going to learn the camera. I mean, you can watch videos and you can read on it all day and what it all does, but if you don't take pictures with it, that's not going to do any good. And so you have to take pictures. It doesn't matter what the picture's of. It doesn't matter. I mean, you want to take pictures of literally everything. It doesn't matter what it's of, or what kind of photography. Just use it. Like, use it and figure out the settings. Try to use it in different settings. Try to use it in manual mode once you kind of learn how that works. Just get out there and practice, because that is seriously, like, that is how I learned how to take pictures, is by taking pictures. And that sounds so simple and so cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason, because most of the time they're true. Take pictures, take pictures. And I know I have the luxury of saying that because we have digital cameras. And that's the thing, we have digital cameras. Take a bunch of pictures, you can't take too many. Memory cards are super cheap. Yeah, take a lot of pictures. You can't take too many, especially when you're learning. You want to especially take bad ones. Okay, that sounded weird. You don't want to try to take bad ones, but you want to take enough pictures to where you have plenty of bad ones and you have some good ones. Because if you only take a couple pictures, more than likely they're all going to be bad. You want to take a lot. Usually you get, I mean, I don't know what the number is. It's different for everyone, and everyone will say a different number, but maybe you might get one good one out of 10. You might get one good one out of 100. Starting out, probably 1 out of 100, is what you're gonna get. But just go out and do it, and you wanna fail some. You wanna fail some. The fifth thing is try everything, which 3, 4, and 5 all kind of go together. What I mean by try everything is try everything as far as photography goes. Try different things. I quickly was very interested when I started learning how to use my camera and got a little bit more comfortable with it. Became very interested very quickly in like astrophotography, taking pictures of the night sky, and like light painting type of stuff. Painting with like lights, like taking pictures with lights or sparklers or something like that. That's what I actually got interested in first, and I learned how to do that from watching YouTube videos. And so like I tried that, and that helped me. Trying everything not only like helps you learn what you're interested in, but it helps you learn a lot more about your camera. If you only do one type of photography, you're only going to know the specific settings of one type of photography. Settings are different between the different things you do. Take some wildlife pictures, take some portraits, do some like street photography, try sports, try landscape, astrophotography. Just try a little bit of everything. Try studio stuff. If you try everything, you're gonna learn what you enjoy the most, and you're gonna have like versatile skill set, and you're gonna learn more about your camera. So try it all when you're starting out. Why not? The next thing, number 6, edit your photos. And this one is definitely down the line of tips, obviously number 6, but very important. I would definitely say that obviously learning the techniques and process behind creating a good image in the camera is most important, obviously, yes. But editing your photos is, I think, underrated sometimes. Editing your photos, I don't know. People have different opinions on it, obviously. Some people like the natural look of stuff that comes out the camera, don't do too much to it. And that's fine, like art is subjective, but editing your photos can take, it's really where you put your style and creativity into your photo the most, at least for me, that is. That's where my most creative stuff comes out, is in the editing process. And you kind of create your own style when you edit. If you're just taking photos and not editing them, they're just gonna look like photos out of the camera, which they're probably still good, but they're not you yet, and they're not completely you yet. Because yeah, you framed them, yeah, you got the composition in the camera, but when you edit it, that's when it takes a different look than anyone else, for sure. And editing, seriously, like photos look bland coming out of the camera. You want to edit it a little bit. You want to edit definitely some things. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to go crazy, but I think, you need to learn how to edit and try different stuff with editing. You don't have to learn one thing and just do it for the rest of your life, when you edit photos. But the key to editing photos is to learn what different components in the editing software do so that you can specifically create something. What I mean by that is like, presets are awesome. Presets are great. I use presets here and there. I don't use presets all the time. I probably should to do a little bit faster stuff. Presets are mainly for just getting faster at editing, but you don't want to just use a preset and not understand what that preset's doing. You want to, be able to understand what contrast's doing, adjust the curves of the photo, the hues of the photo to where you understand what you're doing when you change things in the photo so that you know what the photo's going to look like. My wife watches me edit photos sometimes, even though I don't love it, but she'll watch me and she'll be like, what in the world? How do you get there? And I understand that because I had to learn what each thing does to where I want to make something specific and I know what to do with different slides in the editing program to use. And you might say, well, I don't want to pay for editing software. And that's understandable. There are free software editing. There are free photo editing softwares on the internet. I think when I got started out, I was using a free one on the internet. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I think it was Pixlr or something like that. It's probably not even existent, or there's probably better ones now. But there are plenty out there that are free and basic, and you can get started editing and learn the basics. I would encourage you to eventually, if you can, get to something like Adobe Lightroom to where you have a catalog of images and you can keep all your images in one place, see them all, edit them, and even batch edit, and it's going to help a lot. But just getting started out editing, use a free one and go from there. Also, in the topic of editing is my advice, and any photographer's advice, not my advice, any photographer's advice, but I didn't care about it when I was getting started out. I didn't know about it when I was getting started out, but something that's so important is to shoot raw images. So find in your camera to where you can choose the quality of the image. You'll see JPEG or RAW. Choose RAW. And even if you don't know what that means, even if you don't understand it, I have seen it firsthand between trying to edit a JPEG photo and trying to edit a RAW photo, is the JPEG does not come out looking good if you do too much editing to it, whereas with RAW photos you can edit a whole lot more and still keep the same quality of the photo. And so if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. Shoot some JPEG photos, shoot some RAW photos, and try to edit them and see the difference in them. But my advice is definitely start shooting RAW from as early as you can. There are definitely bigger file sizes, so you might want to get a little bit bigger memory card, but totally worth it in the end. And I would just, I don't ever shoot JPEG. Maybe that's not the best, but I haven't shot in a JPEG probably since I use auto mode. But shoot RAW, switch to it now. You'll thank me later. 7th tip, inspiration is fine, comparison isn't. And it's hard for me to give this tip because I struggle with it still now so much. And I think most everyone struggles with it because there are obviously people in photography that are very well known, but there's not a top photographer. It's when it comes to stuff with art, there's no one that's just top. He's at the top. Or she. I don't know why I said he. I'm going to cut that out. No one is the top photographer in the world because art is subjective. So when I say that inspiration is fine, but comparison isn't, looking at other photographers and getting inspired, saying, wow, they have amazing photos. I would love to progress there. Even take some tips from them or editing styles or even ideas about photos and say, that would really help me if I did that to progress and take better photos. But looking at someone else's photos that obviously has a lot more experience than you and is a professional photographer and saying, oh my goodness, my photos suck. Why would I even try to take photos when there are photographers out there like that? Why? My photos are terrible. I'm never gonna get there. Why am I even trying? That's what's wrong. Because it's just like I said, you're starting out in photography. I'm only a little bit into photography. I'm still growing. There's some people that have been doing it their whole life. There are some people, that have been doing it for years and years and years. And even if they haven't been doing it for years, Maybe people have put more time into it. If there are better photographers out there, they've obviously put more time into it because they've dedicated their time to developing the craft and learning how to take photos, learning how to edit. And maybe you aren't there yet. Maybe you're just getting started out. Maybe you haven't had a lot of time to put into it. Maybe you're just learning about your camera. So why would, you can't think that like when you're here just learning how to use a camera that you're going to be able to take photos that look like you've been doing it for 10 years. And so it's okay to get inspiration from other people or even get a photo idea from other people. I know I do that a lot. I'll see a photo, I'm like, wow, that's such a cool idea. Like I'd love to recreate something like that. But you can't look at someone else's photos or a photographer and say, I'm that person. I'm gonna be that person. I'm gonna strive to make everything I do look exactly like that. That's I think where it's a little bit dangerous, and that's gonna lead you, into not being able to develop as a photographer and as just being creative. You wanna get inspiration, but be creative on your own and not compare yourself to others. The last tip I have, number 8, is to be courageous and share your work. That might not be something that everyone needs to hear, but I think there are probably some people that need to hear that, because especially if you are comparing, you're gonna have a hard time wanting to share your work, share your photos with the public, with people on social media. You're gonna say, oh my gosh, like my photos just are not good. Like I don't want people to see them, especially if you're just constantly thinking about other photographers. You have, or if you follow other photographers, you have other photographers following you, or if you have friends that are other photographers, you're gonna think, oh my gosh, my photos aren't as good as theirs. I don't want to share them. I don't want them to see this. And sometimes, like I struggle with that. Like I only want to share my favorite and the best of the best photos. And like sometimes I got to get over it and say, it's good to just share more work. More, it's still got, I still want it to be good quality work, but it doesn't have to be the best photo I've ever taken. Just share work that I am proud of. It might not be the photo that's going to get the most likes in the world or whatever, but it's still something I created that I am proud of when it comes down to it. Not, not to care what other people think, but something I am proud of, because always coming back to it, art's subjective. And I have found that most of the time, the stuff that I like the most, the photos I like the most, people don't really care as much about. But sometimes the stuff that I don't really think is the best, people love. And so it's weird like that. And so I would encourage you to share your work, because you just never know what people are going to think of it. And also not to, it encourage you. You're going to get encouragement from people, for one thing. You're going to get encouragement from people where you just are like, what, you like this photo? Like that's awesome, because I thought it was garbage. I mean, that's happened so many times. But that, as well as you're going to get people noticing your skill, noticing your craft, noticing that you take photos, and that's going to help you get into where people want you to take photos for them or of them. Because if you don't share your work, or if you only share like a photo like once every couple months, like people aren't going to know that you're getting into photography. You need to share it as much as possible. Share your progress too, because if you share your progress, people are going to see that you're getting better. I remember, got into photography 4 or 5 years ago now, and like the photos that I started out with, I can look through my Instagram now all the way back and like scroll to the top. I'm like, oh my goodness. And that's like such an awesome feeling that I know you can have too. Start sharing your work now, so that when you do progress, you can look back and say, wow, like I've learned so much. Like it's such a great feeling. And hopefully, as a little encouragement, I'm going to share some of my photos, starting with some of the ones that I took when I was just getting starting out, and show you a little bit of progress, through the first 3, 4, 5 years that, I was doing photography. And hopefully you're going to notice in the beginning that a lot of my photos I took probably look a lot like your photos that you're taking if you're just learning your camera too. If you just bought a camera using auto mode, like you're going to be like, wow, my photo, I can take a photo like that. And like, that's exactly what I'm saying, is like, you start out and you progress and you keep with it, you're gonna get better. It's gonna take time. It's something that takes patience and it takes diligence, and that's okay. So there's that. That's what I have to say about getting into photography. I really hope this is encouraging, because I truly believe that anyone can be great at photography. The reason being is because I had no background in photography. I didn't do anything creative in high school. I think I took the basic art class just because one of the classes I had to take or something like that, but it didn't have anything to do with photography. All I did was play sports. I didn't do anything creative until my second year in college. And I didn't have any family that knew photography. I didn't have any friends that were into photography. Nothing. I just kind of thought about it. I was trying to find something different to do, and I got into it. And now I am making money doing it, and I'm taking photos that I love, and I'm being creative, and I know that anyone can do that. Obviously, there are better photographers out there that maybe, have a little bit more creative mind, but I really believe that anyone can learn how to use a camera, make great images, and develop their own creativity with it. And it's a great place to start. I hope you guys found something helpful with these tips. Comment below if you have any questions for me about my experience in photography, or any questions you might have about photography that hopefully I can answer. I don't know a whole lot. I think I'm gonna be making more videos on things about photography, how to start making money with photography, taking different types of pictures, editing photos. I have a couple different ideas for photography videos, so subscribe if you are interested in photography and learning different things about photography. Oh boy. Seriously, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Be sure to check out my other videos. And until next time, God bless you guys. Have a great day.